Okay, welcome back. Right now we're going to call to the stage Michael Maracle, law scholar, very interesting fella. Got a story to tell when he finishes talking. But right now, please welcome Mike Maracle.
Thank you. I'd like to maybe pick up where Rob left off, not far about me, about your contracts. Basically, if you sign a contract and you don't put without prejudice in there, you're not going to have any recourse. It's called an unconditional contract. An unconditional contract only favors one part, and you don't want that to happen. So you use with prejudice above your signature so that you have recourse. And it doesn't have to be under the UCC. It can help. If you're going to use the UCC, you're going to use UCC 1-207/308. And that'll give you recourse. And that will tell them that you are not going to be liable for any contracts that you weren't fully informed with, because you do use adhesion contracts now. Okay. Ron Paul's on the way?
That's right.
We apologize for not having a Ron Paul sticker up here, at least. And we are a law group, but I'd also like to bring up the fact that as a group, we try and be prepared. So I'm suggesting that everybody that does not have a food supply, they should start, better late than never, to start storing foods. Any kind of foods, anything that will store. Canned foods, Mountain House will store for 20 years. I go to a place called AAOB, and they sell you stuff in bulk. 5 pound or 5 gallon and 6 gallon super pails of all kinds of food, all kinds of supplies you're going to need in the future.
Afterwards, I have a lot of information on it too. We
Good.
can up to that for quite a while.
Good, bring it right up, because it's important. I mean, you know how important it is.
Absolutely. Ammunition and gold and food.
There you go. Second Amendment makes all other, all other rights possible.
That's right.
So,
Don't become dangerous.
that's right. And store as much ammunition or as many guns as you can possibly have, because they want your guns. I can do a little explaining about the guns too. And I'll start with sovereignty, something that everybody is born with. You're born sovereign, that doesn't change, but you're allowed to contract your rights away. That's something that the government can't interfere with. So never sign an unconscionable contract, it's one-sided. The driver's license is one-sided. The marriage license is through the state itself. It's a three-way contract that the state has control over. The state is the only one that can change that contract. You can't change it. As much as I love my wife, I've only been married, it's my second time around, for about 5 years. And when I told her I wanted a divorce, she wasn't very happy. So I said, it's not you I want a divorce, it's the state. So I'm working on that. That's all part of my research. When you do get married and use a state license, you are allowing the state 1/3 of everything that comes out of that marriage. That's why you're paying what you got. The state wants its third. So you better fess up. I don't want to give a third of the state. And New York State, where we live, is a state that doesn't recognize common law, well, because there's no money in it. So the state wants their share. And you know, for people that have same-sex marriages, we're just asking for more headaches. The state's going to get their hooks into that marriage also. So that's really the reason that it passed. Really, it's not equal rights. It's none of that stuff. They just want the money. Plain and simple. It's all about the money. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, I'm the type of person I'd like to like roll with questions. If you want to talk about the church, you were interested in the church.
Yeah, I read something that the UCC was outside the church, the Vatican get percentage of the UCC. It's universal commercial code. The churches get percentage on all trade somehow.
Trade?
Yeah, that's what I have read.
I don't know anything about that.
And trade and commerce across countries.
For the church?
Yeah, the Vatican.
Well, one thing I can tell you about the church, or most churches today, are 501c3, which means they're registered for profit. And when you register with the state, you have to abide by state rules. I was raised Catholic, and the Catholic Church is a 501c3. And the state tells them what they can talk about in church. You'll never hear about anything political while you're in the church. That's taboo. They can't talk about the Bible in sections where it talks about homosexuality. That's taboo. If they do, they lose their tax programs.
What they do?
Well, the church wants to be tax exempt. And the state can yank that from them. But the church is already tax immune. So there's a big difference between immunity and exemption. You want immunity, that means they can't touch you for any reason at all. Why they opt not to go that way is totally beyond me. That's what I have to say about the church, anyhow. I believe in God and all that, but it's not, I won't go to an organized church like that anymore. Just basically for that reason. And people that join the churches are members of the church, they're liable if the church goes into default. That comes out of their pocketbook because they are members of that corporation. And they'll go after the ones with the deepest pockets. So they don't have to worry about me.
Hey folks, I'd like to ask everyone's help. We're trying to record this, so if you can just talk into the mic when you have a question, raise your hand, I'll come find you. Oh, I see a hand, too.
I'd like to thank you guys for coming all the way from Rochester, Syracuse area for coming out here too. It's a nice long trip on a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the contract and without prejudice then, that other, which is C207?
UCC 1.
Okay.
Book 1. It's the first book.
So what that says is that you're not absconding, not absconding, but you're not giving away your rights.
You're reserving your rights.
Reserving my rights, okay.
Right, you want to reserve your rights because courts, they presume you to death. Everything is a presumption in their favor. You have to be a belligerent about anything that they say. You have to object to virtually everything the court brings before you.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's basically not a unconscionable contract. I have a book that Mike sent me, and the author of it, his name is George Mercer. And the name of it, Tom, I believe I sent that to you over Skype.
Pardon?
I believe I sent that to you over
Good.
Skype at one time.
Okay.
It's about 700 and some odd pages. And the first 70 or 80 pages will make your eyes water. But you can go directly to any portion of the book, and it talks about the income tax, and it talks about your licenses, and it talks about where you're getting into contracts. It talks a lot about God. I mean, a lot. And if you read that, read the section that you think applies to you instead of reading the very first part, because I know if you read the first, I had to work, and I read a lot, to read the first 70 or 80 pages. And I said, I gotta read it, it's killing me. But you can jump and go to anything you want. I have the book on my computer. It wants to work. And it also gives you Supreme Court cases, over 200 of them, which helps out a lot, and I downloaded every single one of them. So if anybody's interested in anything, I've got it. Just contact me through the group, and I'll be thrilled to help anybody out. Okay, it talks about bank accounts, and that is a link to the federal government. It talks about federal licensing programs, injury in fact and causation, insurance programs. Now, they want you to have insurance because that puts you into a maritime jurisdiction. All insurance policies, every one of them, is maritime. And that comes from an 1890-something Supreme Court case. So you don't want to be in a jurisdiction. It does talk about the IRS, Social Security, and a citizenship contract. There's also a residency contract in there. There's a lot of information, and you really have to find it somewhere and download it. I'm sure it's online. As a matter of fact, I think I ran a search on George Mercer, and it's spelled M-E-R-C-I-E-R, George Mercer. And it'll turn your life around just reading it. It lays everything out so well. It's a must read. If I have to give you one document to read, that would be it. I also use a lot of information. I use Rodney Dale class, go to AIB Talk Radio. He has 3-hour shows on a couple times a week. And he doesn't charge for anything that he creates. And he's got one of the best research groups in the country.
This is Mercer.
No, Rodney Dale class, Rod Class.
Rod Class.
That's C-L-A-S-S. And he's on Talk Shoe. AIB County Assembly is what you're going to do search on.
Talk shoe.
Talk Shoe. S-H-O-E. Question?
That's on the internet.
That's on the internet, yeah. Jeff?
Yeah, Mike, to continue on the topic of the UCC, what do you make of a local town justice's claim in a vehicle and traffic court that the UCC did not apply? And what recourse would I have, or would anyone have, if they refused to even recognize that?
When you're in a local traffic court, you are under administrative law. They create the rules. And they should follow UCC, but it's their rules. They claim they have jurisdiction, and they get their jurisdiction actually, or they claim they do, from this book right here. And this is just New York State. This is the vehicle and traffic law of New York State, of which you really don't fall under. That's one of my pet peeves, traveling. And there's a lot in the book. In the beginning, you'll have definitions. And one of the major things in here is a person. And it says under section 131 in the definitions, every natural person, comma, firm, co-partnership, association, or corporation. Now, everybody here, or no, not everybody, but most people out there think that they're a natural person. And really, they are, but they're not a natural person in law. So, they use legalese to confuse you, and they do a great job. They've been doing it for, since there's been automobiles on the road practically. The licenses started with just being identification, and there was no